Sorry about that, guys. This system is not working the way it's supposed to. So let me start off again and say welcome to This Week from Rockdale. I am your host, Larry Cox, and I'm glad to have each and every one of you here. I'm going to say hi to some people first tonight. Then after I do that, then we are going to talk about some things. So good evening, Lisa Lancaster. Good evening, Bill Campbell. Good evening, Clayton Orwood. Mary Boysworth, nice to have you. James Colbert, Charlotte Geller, Dan Burks, Jill Odom, Kathy Word. I think that's everybody who's joined me so far. And I know there are more people watching than said hello, but if you'd like to have shout out, say something in the chat, shout out to you. But first of all, let's do something tonight, guys. Let's go ahead and share and like this show so that we can build this audience up a little bit, so we can get some discussion going in this county. Because the more people who are watching, and the more people who talk about what we discuss, then the more people that can get involved and help change what's going on in Rockdale County. Because we need to do more than talk. We actually need to enact change. And that starts by uh, uh, talking with our state legislators about enacting legislation to change things. Our county government, we try to get them to change zoning and trying to get them to change ordinances so that what we want is law. Because if we don't make these changes legally and all we do is talk about it, then nothing happens. Talk is great, but you've also heard the old saying, talk is cheap. And action speaks louder than words. So we've got to become a community of action, not just talk. Put your money where your mouth is, and then you also need to be strong and willful and drive it home. Catherine Lynn, great to have you here tonight. So guys, like I said, share and like this show so we can get this message out there and people can learn what we need to do and how we can make a real difference in Rockdale County. So, okay, Tina Hobbs put a comment about Mary Boysworth was talking about the SPLOST money used for the bridge, whether it was grant or SPLOST or whatever, and they went back and forth about it. And one of those reasons for a forensic audit. Yep, we're going to talk about forensic audit tonight also. But what I'd like to start off and talk about, let's start off and talk about that topic. So back on November the 2nd, I believe at the Board of Commission meeting, the CPA firm, which does a year of the end audit, presented their findings. It said everything looked good, county's in good shape, and all that. But the problem with that is that's a required end of the year report that I believe this firm has given 2 or 3 times now. So, and they don't do a deep dive. They only look at what numbers and facts or documents that the county gives them. There's no deep dive. There's no research involved. It's just what the county gives them, and it's just a broad overview. There's not a deep dive into this. So, of course, they would not be able to determine if there were any fraudulent or nefarious activities going on behind the scenes because it wasn't that kind of detailed fiscal examination. It was just a broad, loosey-goosey sort of look at the finances, and from that kind of look, everything would look good. Like I said, we've had several triggering factors here in Rockdale County that should have triggered a forensic audit. You've got the former finance director was fired by the Board of Commission, should have triggered a forensic audit. You now have the current financial officer leaving at the end of this year, sometime in December. You know, anytime you have this chief financial officer leaving or departing or changing hands, there should be a deep dive into the finances at that point to determine where we are actually as a county and in our finances. But Rockdale County doesn't do that. And furthermore, if your employer asks you to do a deep dive and we want to see what's going on with the money and if there are any irregularities, then you do it. But these three dictators, these three individuals are actually denying the request of their employers. And you and I, the taxpayers of Rockdale County, are the employers of those three, whether they want to admit it or not. So, I mean, we've got to look at this as we have asked our employees to do something, and they're refusing to carry out the direction of their employer. In the private sector, they would be terminated. But, in this government sector, it's done by vote. And we need to think about long and hard when we go to the ballot box and how we vote and whether we should send these individuals back to those positions. And right now, just be frank, they've got away with everything they wanted to. They've done everything they wanted, and there has been no consequence at the ballot box. So to them, they may feel a little heat about something here or there, and they may, do something for some public relation way it looks. But at the end of the day, the big decisions, they're going to do what they want to do because they don't feel that you'll make a change. And that's the facts because that's what they see, and that's actually what's been going on in Rockdale County. These commissioners are not facing any pushback from the voters. Now, when we had the tax increase hearing and all that, and they got a lot of of pushback from voters and people telling them they weren't going to vote for them, and that's a little scary to them. But also, they look at it as we can do a few things this year, then by summertime, sort of go low profile. People will forget about it, and they'll still vote for us. And that's what their idea is. So, Voices for Rockdale had their at a town hall this past week, and we had Janice Van Ness come, and Rhonda Taylor was supposed to attend, but Rhonda had COVID, and she had to bail out on us there because of illness. But Janice made an interesting comment. She said, "Well, this is a done deal." When the board was established, we weren't aware that it was a done deal, that all they wanted was we didn't have a decision in where it was going to be built. That would be the courthouse facility. And you got to remember, this is now a courthouse administrative facility. And right now they're saying like 100,000 square feet, courthouse, 75,000 feet, admin. I will say at the end of the day, when all financing and all money is spent, the majority of the money will be spent on admin and not courthouse. Now, people will say, well, your square footage doesn't show that right now. No, it doesn't show that right now because they want to get their PFA funds passed. Soon as they get those funds passed, it will be a done deal. It will be a done deal because they will shift and do what they want to do with those funds. You've got to remember, you've got a judge sitting on the committee who will appoint 2 members of the PFA to pass the funding. Conflict of interest. Truly a conflict of interest. But that's what we're looking at here, guys. So let's just look back at what have the citizens of Rockdale County actually said about a courthouse over the last few years. In 2018, it was put on the ballot. Do the citizens of Rockdale County, did they want to build a courthouse facility for $140 million with a bonding in Old Town Conyers? And the answer was 70%. 70% of the voters of Rockdale County said no. Now, that's not the only time that the voters of Rockdale County have sent a message through the ballot box to the commission. This past spring, the Democrat and Republican parties both asked questions, which they're allowed to do, about the courthouse and what should be done. So the Republican Party asked if we should, to the Republican constituency, should bonding be done and we build a courthouse in Old Town. 70% of Republicans said no. The Democrats asked, should another location other than Old Town be considered? 85% of Democrats said another location other than Old Town should be considered. So it is overwhelming what the citizens of Rockdale County think. But that doesn't matter. You've got three individuals that sit on that board who are going to do what they want to do no matter what. And let's talk about this courthouse task force that they assembled in the secret and darkness of the night. Now, they all want to talk about now the transparency and they're having meetings, but just to let you know, they never intended to have one meeting in open. They had their first meeting in private. It was found out, it was exposed. I sent a letter of protest to the Board of Commission, to Jennifer Rutledge, to the county attorney, reminding them of the law, that if a committee had been established to do this, that it has to be open meetings, that they can't do it. Then what do you know? In a couple of weeks later, right after that, I sent that to them through the weekend. Actually had an ORR, someone asked an ORR. I sent the email. And then the next week, immediately, they put out, they formulated this task force. They're going to start having these open meetings. They went through the process, that first meeting, which I went to, of electing the board, electing their officers. Well, what a lot of people don't know is they did that exact same thing, that secret meeting. That first meeting was actually just a duplication of the real first meeting. This county had no intent. They wanted to get their work done before they actually introduced this committee to the public. Their intention was to actually have this committee look through it, come to bring a recommendation forward, and then say we have a courthouse committee. That was the true intention of these three Board of Commissioners and this commission, this task force. This task force was assembled of people that they felt who would 100%, who would 100% agree with the Board of Commission. Clayton made a point. In reality, it only takes two, but these three are in lockstep with this issue. These three all agree on building that courthouse facility. So you're right, Clayton. It does though only take two, but these three are in lockstep with this, and there's no one on that board sounding out a reasonable explanation or reason to. There's nobody on there opposing it. I believe if you had a strong voice on that board opposing this and throwing those reasons out why, that these other two would have a hard time doing what they're doing if one commissioner was actually exposing the truth and not for it. But where they're in lockstep with this, it's actually very difficult, or it's impossible to stop them without one of the three being against it. So that's where we are right now. Is we've got these three commissioners that are in lockstep about building this facility. Because at the end of the day, like I said, people can disagree with me all they want. This is the good thing about this being my show. You can't stop me from saying my opinion. My opinion, this is not about a courthouse facility. This has always been about an administrative facility. That's what it's always been about. That's what it's always been about. Bill asked the question, when was this voted on in public by the BOC? Never been voted on in public. This is one of those things where it's behind the scenes. They agree with it. They're doing it. They're moving forward with it. but it's one of those things where they're not supposed to have these discussions or not supposed to have these things. But I have it on good authority when they have their executive, when they have their closed door executive meeting, when what they usually talk about purchase of real estate and personnel stuff, they discuss things they're not supposed to. And I have it on good authority that these three individuals discuss things regarding county business among themselves all the time, which is a violation of the Open Records Act. I mean, the Open Meetings Act. So you've got a group of individuals who don't care about the law. Actually, at the last courthouse thing, one of the co-vice chair, one of the co-chairs, actually made a comment that while he was on a conference call with these three individuals, they gave him some assurances. And then he said, I made them call the other two, and we all had a conversation. Then he backtracked on it. So, I feel that happens all the time, that these three individuals are always having discussions, making decisions behind the scenes, and not voting on them or discussing them in open forum. That's a flaw of the three commission system. That's why I believe in 5 commissioners. If you have 5, a couple of them can talk about at one time. So, guys, this is why when we look at this thing and what's going on behind the scene, it's horrible. And that's what we got to look. Those directors, like Sue Sanders, is in charge of this process with this terrible task force. And there was another statement made. It said there was a statement made that they felt that the last courthouse committee was ineffective. I don't think it was ineffective. I think it was. It had a group of people on it. There were a group of people that wanted to push the agenda of the BOC, and there were a group of people that didn't want to push that agenda, but they actually wanted to look and deep dive and see what was going on. And because of that, you had a division on that committee, because you had individuals who wanted to actually do what was right by the citizens of Rockdale County. And that's where the appearance of ineffectiveness may be out there. But I don't think it was ineffectiveness. I think they came back with a couple of proposals to the board. This is the thing about it. It just wasn't the proposals that the board wanted to hear. That first committee did not come back with the proposals of what the board wanted to hear. And then if you assemble a group of individuals and call them a task force, but tell them they can only come back, you can only come back with this opinion, you can only come back with this solution, then what kind of a task force is it? What were you tasked to do? You were tasked to rubber stamp the idea and the direction that the commission wanted you to do. That's not a true citizens task force. A true citizens task force actually did what the first courthouse committee did, not what this second task force is doing. The second task force, in my opinion, is shameful. I think it's a shameful task force who is doing nothing but the bidding of these 3 tyrants. That's what this one is doing. And then I've said this many, many times. It makes no financial sense whatsoever to build that courthouse in Old Town. It makes no sense whatsoever to build this facility in Old Town when you could build at Parker Road for far less money. You have infrastructure, you have ample land, you have ample parking. And somebody said, well, you have to build a parking deck over there. And if Alex McDonald is on here tonight, which I don't know he is, Alex drew a land plan up, and I actually helped get some pricing for some stuff at that time. When he did that, there is ample area at that Parker Road facility to build a building and parking, and you do not have to build a parking deck. That comment was made at the meeting. Janice did say that a parking deck would still have to be built at Parker Road. Alex, could you answer that? Do you agree with that? Do you agree that a facility could be built at Parker Road and a parking deck would not be necessary, that there is ample property there to build additional parking. Plus, we also have to look is the parking that's out in front of the old building to the center, left and right, all that parking would also be available for any facility that would be built back in that large field area. So that parking and whatever additional parking that would be built there, because I always did the land plan. He had a large parking area that was there adjacent to what would have been the annex building, and there was plenty of room to do that, and there was additional land there that you could have done other things with that he didn't even incorporate. So there was plenty. I'm going to put this up. He just said exactly what I said, and I think you guys need to know that. So my design had parking for 300 cars, and there was plenty of land left over for even more parking. And I had mentioned that at the meeting on last week, and I also said that I was confident in that plan because that's what Alex McDonald does for a living. So it wasn't just somebody who said it, wasn't just somebody who sketched out a drawing. It was actually someone who does that for a living. So I was very confident with the comment that I made, and then Alex just backed that up just now, guys. So we that's actually what we need to look at is there are things that we can do, and then when somebody says, well, this is a done deal and there's nothing you can do, I like nothing more than a challenge. Nothing's ever a done deal. There's always something you can do. Let's take, for example, 903, 901 Main Street. They talk about, these buildings being dilapidated. You can't do anything about it. This thing about it, they may have some issues, but there's nothing that can't be fixed. And these are old historic buildings, especially the 903, which is the auditorium, which is an old church. We think that it has historic value for the community. So just to let you guys know, Ken Holmes and I of the Rockdale Voter, and we're also going to be soon announcing the members of the Rockdale Voter advisory board. We are going to have a 5-person advisory board that sits on the board and advises the Rockdale Voter. So we're going to probably the second week of December or so have a meeting of the advisory board, and then I'll be informing you of the members of that advisory board here in the next few weeks. But Tina Hobbs, in 1868, the Baptist church was built. So that 1868 is to where that goes back to that area. So Cheryl Molden, do you sell the house if the roof leaks? No, you fix the roof. So what we need to do is, Ken and I have decided that we're going to do some research. Tina has actually volunteered to help us. So Tina is going to do some research. Ken and I are going to assist in that, and we are going to file an application with the National Historic Society to get the 903 Main Street designated as a National Historic Site and protect it from the county. And when you do that, I think any renovations or can't renovate, you can only restore. So at that point, we would look at restoring it to its natural origin. So, and it would prevent them from tearing it down and building a parking structure on that corner. So that's what Ken and I are going to do. And Catherine, thank you for writing that, because we are going to need help with that. We are going to start a petition with that, because let me tell you, it is very important that we preserve history and that we do the right things in Rockdale County for the right reasons. And let's just say that we're we need to look at what we can do to stop this build. And how can we stop this build? One of the ways we can stop this build uh, is um, is to secure the safety of 903 Main Street, and then prevent them from building that parking structure there, and delay the project, because you know what? Nothing's a done deal. You know, and if we get this application in, there's at least a 2-year process of a review that would hold up any construction in that area or demolition for 2 years once we get our application in. So we're intending to do that. We're intending to go through that process, and we're going to do. And then also, guys, we talked about the PFA. The PFA has to go through a hearing process. They have got meetings that they have, because they put that in the legislation. Then we learned through the process of over here next door in Rivian, they actually, just like Rockdale County, had to have those bonds approved by the court. That PFA over there, the JDA, had to have those bonds approved to the court, and they presented an argument, and the bonds were denied. I believe we have great grounds in Rockdale County to prove that Rockdale County can't afford those bonds, and it would place the taxpayers of Rockdale County in financial hardship. So, so that's what we need to look at. If the citizens of Rockdale County file for relief and don't want those bonds issued because they feel it will cause financial hardship, and then we get documentation and we have someone represent us, which, like I said, I think I have an attorney that will represent us when those bonds are up for I want to post this up here. Alex says, I'll post a copy of my design on This Week in Rockdale so that people can see what's actually possible at Parker Road. Alex, could you post that, like you say, and would you actually share that to like This Week from Rockdale and my personal Facebook page, and just do a share and tag? Because I think if as many places that we can get that out there, TPS everywhere. I think there's many places that we can get that out there and show, and to the Rockdale voter, share it also to the Rockdale voter. I think as many places as we can get that out there, so that people can see. Who wouldn't have standing to pose? See, actually, Charlotte, this is the thing about it. When they do those bond things, as we learned last time, they actually invite the citizens to join the suit. So the standing thing doesn't matter with that, because when, just like the JDA and just like the previous SPLOST bonds, when they're approved, they actually invite people, if they want to join the suit. So we won't have that obstacle. We're actually we join the suit because we're invited to join the suit. And you guys found out right beforehand, because they asked nobody within 10 minutes before that meeting. No one had went and filed. So so Charlotte, you have to file the opposition with the Court of Court. So as long as we file the opposition in conjunction when that's going on, we're fine, because we have that mechanism. And so Gail Owens, Alex, she actually lives in Old Town and can post a drawing on Old Town neighborhood page for all to see. So, man, if you could just share this out there, and we can just, because people need to see that there are other options. But what we're being sold is not the only thing. What we're being told and what we're being sold, and it's a done deal. Well, why is it a done deal? Because 3 people say it's a done deal? That doesn't mean it's a done deal, especially when you're 3 incompetent individuals. And I say some harsh words, and people keep telling me, like, you say these things and they're going to sue you and you're mean. Sue me. Sue me, sue me, sue me. I do not care. I have the right to say what I want to say. It's my opinion. It is what it is, guys. I'm not afraid. Because if we're afraid to say what we feel, then that's when they do win. That's when things are a done deal. When we're afraid through petitions and sending things, we were able to get 15,000 extra dollars for senior citizens. Through petitions and letting our legislature know we wanted action, we were able to get House Bill 1102 passed. So that's what we need to do. So Catherine, yes, the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia does own those buildings, but the county is in a lease purchase agreement with them. So the title and deed is in them, but the county would pay those off and they would get ownership before they would start demolishing. So that's just the financing process. So Alex got it. It's up on This Week in Rockdale now. It's pinned up on the top of the page. So people, but 903 and 901 are listed as properties of the Association of County Commissioners. I'm not surprised that's not happening, because I don't think people in Old Town really know. I think somebody mentioned it earlier. Well, technically, Catherine, no land is being purchased because the county's already purchasing the land. The association just holds the deed. The county is actually paying the loan. That's who financed the purchase for the county. The county is already purchasing those properties, and that association holds the deed. And it's just like your car. You purchase your car, the bank holds your deed, just like your home. You purchase your home, your lender holds your deed. That association is nothing more than the lender. The county is already purchasing those properties, just like the tax commissioner's office and a couple of other buildings that are on Bank Street. The county is purchasing them, and that association, the Georgia County Commission Association of Georgia, is the lender that holds the title. And then I don't believe that when they say no additional land will be purchased. I actually do not believe that. I don't think they're being honest with us. I think additional land will be purchased, because at the end of the day, they'll say X, Y, Z. And when we're talking about the $110 million PFA, then we're also talking about a $72 million grant $72 million grant that they have filed for under Senator Warnock's office. Let's look at this. That I've always said this is going to be a $180 million project. Alex McDonald has always said it'll be $180 to $200 million. You add 110 and 72, you get $182 million. So guys, and then people will say, well, they'll use the 72 not to borrow as much. What rock have you been hiding under? No, they'll take the 72, add it to the 110, and that's where I tell you that admin portion of this facility, this project will grow. Those additional funds are going to go to the admin portion of this project, guys. This is a $180 million project. $110 million we'll be borrowing, and $72 million that'll be a grant. But it will still be a $180 million project. And when you're looking at a $100 million loan over a 40-year time period, you're looking at $500 million that you're going to end up paying. And then these bunch of clowns will end up refinancing it numerous times, and it will never be paid off, just like the Rockdale County Water and Sewer Authority. So the water company, or RWR, they keep refinancing those bonds, and they've never paid them off. They say they're paid off, and they do this the shell game, the shell and pea game, guys. That's all this is. It's a shell and pea game played by this county commission. So so guys, what we need to do is we need to take action. It's not just words. It's action. We're going to do our petition. We're going to take action by filing the application to get those properties, 901 and 903, as protected historic landmarks, because that's what we can do. And we're going to, at the time, if they do, we're going to attend the PFA hearings. We're going to say, stop the insanity. We don't want this. We're going to attempt to fill those rooms just like we do tax increase hearings, because people need to come out in droves and let these individuals know enough is enough. I think these three, if we do not stop it and we do not defeat Doreen Williams and Oz Nesbitt in 2024, the citizens of Rockdale County are doomed to a lifetime of debt that will suffocate the life out of this county and any potential that this county has. That's what's going to happen, guys. And we're looking at what these individuals are looking at doing. They've Tom Harrison said the other day we had close to 6,000 units, I think, but he said it's more down close to, or it was 5, now it's down to 4. Somebody could correct my numbers in the chat. I'd be grateful for that. But the reason for doing this is to generate revenue. These guys want to increase housing units. They want to increase housing units in Rockdale County to increase tax revenue. It's all about units and revenue. It's 4,067 units. Now Tom did say it was 5,000, and some of them have decided not to build and whatever. So it's all about increasing units to increase tax dollars. And guys, we are a small landmass county. Don't know if you know this. Unlike some of the movies that we've seen that, they do these things like Star Trek one time, did this thing where they grow land. One of the other shows, one of these sci-fi things where they grow land. Let me tell you, you cannot grow land. You cannot grow land. Rockdale County cannot expand and cannot grow in landmass. And when you bring high density housing to any location, you can historically look and see what happens with high density housing. High crime comes to that area. High crime inevitably infestates high density housing. That's just reality. High density, high crime. The two go together. I think that we should keep intact the zoning where you have to have at least an acre of land to build in Rockdale County. This nonsense that they want to do over here by Honey Creek and that development of D.R. Horton, those kind of things need to stop. We need to stop that nonsense. And we need as a community. I had that forum with Commissioner Nesbitt or Chairman, whatever he is, over at JP Carr, and he said, well, people who lived here at one time, they're dying out and selling out. And people have moved here and they want one thing, but that's not what they're going to get. Well, if people moved here and that's what the people want, isn't it what the people want or what the commissioners are supposed to do? Isn't that how they're supposed to do a land plan? Isn't that how they're supposed to do the zoning? They're supposed to zone the land and do a land plan on the desires of the people who have invested, bought land, and live in this community. There's only one reason that elected officials go against the community with these land deals. Somebody is going to benefit financially from these land deals. Somebody is going to hit the lottery from these land deals. And you guys can think about who that is all day long. But somebody not willing to do the right thing financially by the taxpayers means they're doing the right thing financially for somebody else. Mary Boysworth, lining pockets. Land deals are the most corrupt form of government backdoor stuff that happens in America. Land deals in county and municipalities are where all corruption lies. So when you've got a county government or a city government or a government entity that is not doing what's right by the taxpayers and doing something that you can't figure out, then what that means is there's someone getting rich behind the scenes. When taxpayers are paying that bill and they're suffering, it means that there are individuals who are benefiting and profiting financially. And that's reality. And that's why you, the taxpayers of Rockdale County, and the voters of Rockdale County need to stand and say, enough is enough. And through your vote, say enough is enough. Ken and I, with the Rockdale Voter and our advisory board, will be putting out a petition for 903 and 901 because we want partners to join with us when we turn this application in. So this next petition, this next application that we have will say something like, you as a citizen of Rockdale County are joining the efforts of the Rockdale County, the Rockdale voter in turning this petition in to, the national, to get these buildings on the National Historic Landmark as national historic sites. So we're gonna ask you, the citizens of Rockdale County, to be co-signers with us in this. So that's what that application or petition will be. It'll be an individual, petition or document that's saying you are joining in with us as a co-signer of this application. And we really need your help, and we really need your influence as citizens, voters, and taxpayers moving forward with this idea. So, guys, I have not given up. I don't think it's a done deal in the minds of three small-minded individuals. This is a done deal with Osborne Nesbitt, Sherry Washington, and Doreen Williams. But with you, the citizens of Rockdale County, I do not think that it's a done deal. I think you have fight in you, and you have the ability to stand and speak and yell to the top of your lungs. This is not a done deal, and we will fight you with every breath we have. And that's what needs to occur in Rockdale County. It's time to take a stand in Rockdale County against tyranny. It's time to take a stand because we can stand up and say no more. That's right, Tina Hobbs. We can stand and say no more. And with your help and with your determination, we can make this happen with action. It takes action. We will put our words out there, and then we will follow our words up with action through legislation, through petitions, and through the legal recourses that we have. We will fight this every step of the way because we are not a doormat that these three tyrants are just going to walk over. Ladies and gentlemen, I have had a wonderful evening this evening. I will not be doing a show Wednesday. I have family coming in town. And I too often ignore my family and I do these things, but I have promised my family that I will take off from Wednesday and through Saturday. I'm going to spend time with my family. I'm going to enjoy them this Thanksgiving holiday and give thanks. And then next Sunday, I will be right back here with you, the loyal listeners of this show this week from Rockdale. And we are going to make a difference in this county because people matter and you matter. Whether this Board of Commission thinks you matter or not, I think you matter. The Rockdale voter thinks you matter. And we are going to make a difference in Rockdale County with our actions. I thank each and every one of you. I look forward to this coming show. I look forward to you guys helping us get involved and helping us do the research. And with this application that we're going to do for 903 and 901 Main Street, and I pre-thank Tina Hobbs and anyone else who will help us do the research so that we can do this application and get these buildings established as historic landmarks. Happy Thanksgiving, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you this coming Sunday on This Week from Rockdale.